Hello, everyone. Well, welcome back to another episode of Autistic Assemble, a series to celebrate Acceptance Month, which is going to be really cool to speak to Nick, because I think I learned something new today that Nick actually has his own podcast, own show, so it's going to be really nice to hear about Nick's experience, journey, and his podcast. So, Nick, hello. It's great to have you on the podcast today.
Great to be here, Mason. Thank you.
Thank you. Would you mind, Nick, to just to introduce yourself a little bit?
My name is Nick. I am a 24-year-old autistic neurodivergent individual. I am from the US. I'm from California, and I am a college student. I'm currently getting my BA in political science and public policy, and I have two dogs, as
Oh,
well as I like watching game shows and sports and learning, and also being a public advocate for people with disabilities. I'm sorry, that was my cell phone.
yeah.
But yeah.
Well,
So
it's great to have you, Nick.
thank you.
So with your dogs, what are their names, if you don't mind me asking?
Baxter and Bisa. Baxter's my oldest. He is going to turn 9 in June. And Bisa is my youngest. She just turned 7 last month.
Oh, very nice. Dogs are
Yeah.
very cozy, although they are really good, aren't they? Just to, I
Yeah.
bet if you've had a bad day, or if you just love dogs.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely.
So it seems you keep yourself busy, Nick. With a lot of things.
Yeah. Yeah, I do. Yeah, I
Yeah,
do.
yeah. It's good though, isn't it? It's good to keep busy.
Yeah, it does. It's like, I try to, keep myself occupied if I have, or if I'm free, I try to do, at least at least get out the house at least once in a while, so I won't, be bored.
Yeah, yeah. It's always nice every once in a while, and across a lot of places. Like I don't know about the US, but in the UK, a lot of places are snowing at the moment. Um, but yeah, it's gonna be great. So Nick, with your maybe we'll start about your autism. When was you diagnosed?
I was diagnosed as autistic at 7. Yes, 7. That was 2005, 2006. Yeah. But I didn't fully get the full gist of it until I was probably around 11 or 12, because my mom fully told me what was going on.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I was diagnosed when I was 9. Um, and like, did you find it like hard? Like, if you remember, I know it's awful. We could say an awful time long ago, but it's not that long ago. But do you remember like how you felt like when you got told?
Um, when I when my mom told me, and when my teacher also told me, I at first I really didn't understand, because I was when I was younger, I really got picked on a lot as
Yeah,
a kid at school, and I thought it was something wrong with me because it felt like I was different than everyone else. But then one day my mom told me, back then they called the type of autism I had Asperger syndrome, which a lot of autistics and neurodivergence don't call it that anymore. Um, but then when I, fully got, understood what I had, I I decided to, they still wanted me to mask my ASD, but as I gotten older and as when I graduated high school and went to college, and I surrounded myself with people who would accept me for who I am. I mean, when I was in high school, I fully understood what I had. I told some of my close friends, and they all most accept me. The outside my neurodivergent class,
Yeah.
they accepted me for who I was, and some of us still talk. And when I went to college, that's when I was really nervous to tell people, because I was afraid I wouldn't get accepted, like, you
Yeah.
know, for friendships or relationships type stuff. But when I went to college, I surrounded myself with people who did under, understand.
Yeah.
And then there were some people that said they understood, but in actuality, I can tell in the back of their minds, they're like, this dude is weird.
Hmm. Yeah, I can understand that because like when I was at school, especially like the early years, like around maybe that where you getting diagnosed like 7 for you, like 7, 8, 9 kind of years. I found like I got picked on as well, and I always felt maybe it's because I'm different, like you said that you feel something is wrong with you because you're different to everyone else. You act differently, maybe. You won't talk to people maybe as much, or maybe because you feel they don't like you. And sometimes it's really bizarre reasons why they do pick on you. Normally, if it is just one, it escalates to more because they don't want to be picked on themselves. So they hang around with the people maybe picking on someone, so they are not the next target. Um, which is quite sad, really. But you can understand as well, in a way. But yeah, it happens a lot with autistic people, really, doesn't it? Like people get bullied and picked on.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I I feel like people people who say they understand people with ASD and they, sympathize with them, but sometimes there are people who say that, but still in the back of their minds, they don't want to seem, uncool to the people they hang out with. So they basically just isolate themselves away from the people with ASD because they feel like they're not cool enough or they don't understand, which is certainly not the case. I mean, we understand what's going on. It's just we have different comfort zones for us.
Yeah,
And sometimes, we just feel comfortable being in our own comfort zones. Sometimes we like to step out of those comfort zones, but mm, we got to do that on our own merit. We can't, be, pushed into, out of the frying pan and into the fryer.
yeah, definitely. And we all have our own minds. Um, um, we all have our own minds, and we process things differently. We might process something faster. We might process something slower. Um, like I know for me, like if at school perhaps if a teacher is blurting out like you've got to do this, then do that, then do that all in one go, I'm lost. I'm lost from when before we've even started. So yeah, and then I remember at school when that happened, and I would ask. I was almost be afraid to ask. It shouldn't be like that. Like you should feel like teachers tell you to ask if you need help, and you would do that sometimes, and you wouldn't think. Sometimes you would feel like I'm not going to bother because I'm not going to get the help anyway. So what's the point? If you're going to just explain the same thing as the same way you did it, just it's just about changing ways, really, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. Like, especially when it comes to like instruction and stuff, you would, as I got when I was younger, my teacher basically, helped when I was like in middle and high school, elementary, middle and high school, they just went by the instructions slowly so we could all understand. But as I went to college, I basically had to be my own advocate and say, is there, say, I had to go up to my professors, say, is there, some stuff I need to understand because I'm trying to understand this material, but I really don't. So can you please clarify one more time for me, please? So at first, when I was like, 15, 16, it was a little bit tough for me. But as I gotten older, it became, second nature for me, just speak up for, what I need.
Yeah, definitely. And like, I guess so sometimes you're more comfortable maybe around someone else, maybe one teacher to another. Um, you grow that connection over the years that you're there at school. Um, and me, I was at the start. I was very silly. I would copy people's behaviours to try and make myself look cool. But and then I would realise, nah. For a time, because I didn't want to be different to anyone else. You see,
Yeah.
I would copy people maybe the way they were acting, and not be myself. And I shouldn't have done that, but I just didn't want to feel different. I didn't want to feel that I was treated differently to people. And then there was a time where I just thought that don't care anymore what people think of how if I do things and stuff. So it comes to a time where I think people do come. It happens. Everyone has different speed, but yeah, you just maybe try and focus on yourself a bit more.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, when I first got to university, I was going through like a really hard, time relationship wise. I was mostly depressed. I was sad. I didn't know what to do. The only time I came out of my room was to go to school, and that was it, because I had classes on campus. And that first semester, I was really depressed, even though I passed my classes and I met a couple of people. I decided I wanted to, turn my life around. So that spring semester last year, I decided to, change my wardrobe. I wear blazers. This is actually one of the first few blazers I bought.
Oh yeah.
Um, yeah. And, I decided to join a school club. I joined my school political science club. I was their communications chair, and now I'm their club's vice president. I'm actually learned that I'm the first autistic, vice president of the political science club at my university.
Oh
And yeah, it's big.
yeah.
And so,
That must be
yeah,
really a very how would you put it? A very and a very good role to have.
yeah, definitely. I'm currently trying to plan an event for my school around, next month being, Autism Acceptance Month, to bring, neurodivergent and autistic people into the political process.
Yeah,
And so,
that would be nice.
yeah,
Um,
yeah, I
because
noticed
yeah, I
noticed
remember
we got
I remember
well,
that Nick in science actually where it would be talked about a lot like politics and stuff and maybe for autistic people it can be a bit harder to understand and it's good that you would include them.
yeah, definitely. I mean, we got a sense of justice. I mean, and we are passionate about stuff, about, trying to get advocacy as well as, accessibility and more inclusion. And I think we should start it at the political process. And I hope that, this could be the first step into, welcoming more autistic people into the political arena.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. But
Yeah.
as we probably know, Nick, there's a lot of arguments, isn't there?
Yes.
With politics.
Yes. Definitely.
Yeah. So
Definitely.
So I would love it to be talked about more. Like it should be like I know it's talked about in science, but maybe it should be like a little maybe a starter lesson of the day or at maybe universities or schools and stuff. Probably more so maybe last years of school and university because I think they're probably the right years to be talking about this, politics, because it's very complicated to understand, isn't it? In ways.
Yeah, definitely. Um, I just I just, hope that but overall, back to, the spring of last year, I made a lot of friends, made a lot of new friends. I still talk to some of them. Some of them are still in my class. So I shout out to them if they're listening.
Yeah,
Uh,
that's great.
So, but overall, and also made a lot of friends in my university who are autistic and on the neurodiversity spectrum. We still talk. And also, I, a couple of my friends, we were trying to get a resolution passed by our student government to make things, to bring, more disabled and more neurodivergent people into, you know, have more accessibility, to bring them all involved on campus and at the university, where we've been trying to, pressure student government as well as the administration, to school administrator, to implement policy changes to make the campus more accessible for neurodivergent students when it comes to events and classes.
Yeah, I think that's a really good idea, because
Yeah.
like how are you with events with your autism? Like, do you mind going to things with lots of people, or do you like to keep your own space?
Yeah. Last year I started to, get out of my comfort zone a lot more, because we've been, sequestered at home for the last, year and a half because of the pandemic. But last year I decided to get out of my comfort zone. So I hang out with a lot of friends. I went to a spring fling concert at my university last year. We had like carnivals and, music. It was kind of like I called it a mini Coachella, even though Coachella's in SoCal, and I'm not fully ready to go to Coachella yet, to tell
Yeah,
you the truth. But I'll take my school spring fling over Coachella for now.
yeah,
But overall, when it comes to like big events, I can tolerate it. I mean, I like going to, events, but if it gets too loud, too much, I can try to bring like my headphones or my earbuds to quell out the sound.
mm,
But I do, dance to the music and participate in it.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I actually think probably a lot of masking goes along in events. Actually, probably for a lot of
Yeah.
neurodivergent people.
Yeah. That's why I mostly mask at the events. I'm sorry if you hear barking, those are my dogs. But when it comes to, when I'm neurotypical fans, I mostly mask. If you, it's okay if you want to stim out, it's fine. And that, so I'm glad that, my friends are accepting of that. Sometimes I still mask, even though for their comfort as well. But I'm just glad that I got friends that are accepting of my ASD.
Yeah, yeah. I have a lot of um autistic friends, like neurodivergent friends, is the term we now use. um,
Yeah.
um, but very confusing sometimes. But it's all involved in that bracket, isn't it? And then I also do have friends that haven't got autism, but um, I do like to, I do get asked questions sometimes, and like most of my friends are autistic, but or they have some they are related to myself as in some way, like maybe with hobbies, interests. Quite a lot of my friends like the same things as me, but some don't.
Yeah, definitely.
um,
Definitely.
yeah, but yeah. Like with events, I don't mind them, but I just comes to a stage I have to have my own personal space. I don't
Yeah.
I for the pandemic I went to a football stadium over here in UK and it was very crowded. It was like you were sardines and stuff, and it wasn't very good. Which I would love more sensory rooms around a lot of maybe places. I mean, not just schools and colleges and stuff like that. I want it at different places. I want it at places where you wouldn't usually think a sensory room would be. That would be nice.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, out here where I live, our NBA, two NBA teams, as well as our NFL team, have announced that their stadiums will have sensory rooms for, autistic people that want to settle down. Um,
Mm.
what my closest NBA team where I live, they just announced that last month and they're opening it in about a week or so. So me and my friend were just talking about that, and we said that is so admirable that they're doing this right now because I know the Philadelphia Eagles were technically like the first American pro sports team to add a sensory room to their stadium out in Philly. But so I hope this could be like a big symbol of change
Mm.
that, make your places more sensory friendly for all neurodivergent individuals.
Definitely, and I
Yeah.
love that. I love that. Like got NBA. That's basketball, right? Isn't it?
Yeah, basketball, NFL is, American football.
Yeah, yeah, it's great. It's great for like it's quite American football is quite similar to rugby over here in the UK. It's always confusing, really, isn't it, with UK and American sports and just words
Yeah.
in general. How we both say things, like like we might say crisps and you say chips and like crisps and chips are opposites. I know something.
Yeah,
Yeah,
because out here in the US, um, our what you guys call football, we call soccer. Um, and our American football, you guys call it rugby. And
yeah,
also, you guys do a lot of stuff. I mean, you guys call fish and chips. We call, fish and your chips, French fries. Um, also we drive on different opposite directions. I think
yeah.
we drive on the left and you
Yeah,
guys drive on the right.
yeah, it is really interesting because I think your steering wheels obviously will be the other way, and
Yeah.
but yeah, it is funny because well, when I speak to friends or people I know from America sometimes, and it's quite funny, and like the World Cup just gone, of course, um, England and America did play each other, and there would have been lots of
Oh
words.
yeah. Yeah, me and a friend who is also this friend who is also autistic, he really is a big soccer fan, and he gathered me and a few of our classmates to watch the World Cup. I think it was was it England and US playing?
Yeah, they
I
were. Yeah.
I think it was that game. Yeah, we
Mm.
watched. We were all, cheering. It was so awesome to have that type of, connection and bringing all of my schoolmates together to watch this big event that only happens once every 4 years.
Yeah, I think America is one of the countries that's actually going to be hosting the next one as well. So, um,
Yeah,
I think they're splitting it between Mexico as well, and
in
um,
Canada.
yeah, yeah, and Canada. And I actually watched Canada at the World Cup, and they looked very promising. They looked like a future side. Like they were a bit unfortunate. They did play really well though, but.
Yeah.
But I always like it when these events come up and like yeah, football and like I love football myself. Like I'm always watching it when it's on. Um, and yeah, the definitely sports is one of my interests there, Nick, and it seems like it's yours as well.
Yes. Yeah, my family are big, NBA and NFL watchers, especially the NFL season when our team, plays, especially if they make the playoffs. It's like, oh, is this Super Bowl season? But usually our season ends with us losing in the conference finals.
Hmm.
But hopefully we'll go back to the Super Bowl next year.
Yeah, de- definitely, and I think America's much more bigger thing with basketball than over here. But I have gone to see basketball at the O2 Arena it's called in London. And
Oh.
I went well because I transferred from like a public mainstream school to a school that people with or who are neurodivergent, who are autistic, and when I went there, they actually took me on a load of different trips. So you would go to see England play at Wembley, and you would go to the O2 Arena to see basketball. I think that was a couple of times. I went to the O2 Arena to see basketball, and it was cool because it was interesting because it's not a thing that what I would normally do. It's not normally on telly for us really to watch. So it was good. It is a good experience, but yeah, there's so many different sports. I I do like tennis, like table tennis, and all different sports. It's really good, isn't it, just to get involved?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So Nick, would you like to talk a little bit about your podcast?
My podcast focuses on various topics. I mean, social anxiety, social media, inclusion. My first season, I did a big, multi-week segment on relationships and dating because I was inspired by watching Love on the Spectrum, US and Australia, that I just decided I wanted to, do a segment on that. So I talked about, dating, crushes, rejection, heartbreak, and then love, because I knew that, as an autistic person and trying to get those I mean, I'm autistic and I'm demisexual, which is on the asexual spectrum. But I also, I, I want, I would like to date people and want to have relationships with people, but I just want to feel comfortable around them. And sometimes it's really hard, 1 minute, one person hears the word autism and they get really iffy about us. But sometimes I always try to be extra careful with people so they don't feel uneasy around me. And sometimes it gets hard because people will sometimes look at you like you're weird, and it really hurts. I don't want to feel like I'm trying to be weird or, change myself for your comfort. It feels like I'm just trying, if I try to change myself so much that I won't even know who I am anymore or what I'm supposed to be. And that's the hard part, and that's what sucks.
I think in general, Nick, it's hard. It's hard to find a relationship nowadays, and the right person. And they do say they would come around at some point, but like I say, what I've learned from my experience, I guess, is not to blurt out everything maybe at once. I think it's great. I think the important thing is maybe say your sister straight away, see what they say. Like they're either be alright with it or they won't. Which if they won't, then you'll know that it'll save you wasting time. Really, like if you say that halfway through and it would have been a waste of time. So if you say try and say that straight away, and sometimes it can be really hard. Um, to say it, because of course we're all different. Um, and I think most people, maybe neurotypical people, will think of a person that can't do anything and literally can't do anything. I think that's what most neurotypical people will probably highlight in their mind, um, because they don't understand it properly. But I think the thing about relationships, that it's very hard um, to like you don't want to change like you say you don't want to feel like you want to change for them because that's not very good and that's not very healthy, really, is it, to do that?
Yeah, definitely, definitely not.
Yeah. But I'm no therapist, but that's just my advice.
Yes, it's okay, man.
Yeah. But yeah, I think there's a lot of I think um I think it would be better. Ideal world, you date someone who's autistic too. Um,
Yeah,
but yeah,
I mean, I'm trying to find, I mean, I like all people. I mean, all races, all people, and if it's neurotypical or neurodivergent or autistic, I'll date them too.
yeah,
It's just that in this climate, it's so hard because people view autistic people as like we don't understand, but we do. I mean, we know right from wrong. We know what boundaries is acceptable and what boundaries are not unacceptable.
mm,
It's just that sometimes we need to learn to have a better understanding. If you want space, we'll give it to you. If you want us to talk to you, we will. Like, yes, you just gotta communicate with us so we understand you,
yeah.
not give us the silent treatment or just feel like we're doing something wrong, but you're still giving us the third degree.
I think the thing about it is that you just if we're honest, you should expect the partner who they may be to be honest as well. Because if they're not, and you get accused of things halfway through, saying like, well, which does come up a lot sometimes, where you're accused of not communicating and talking, and then you think to yourself, that's a load of rubbish. Where where
Yes.
where you've been communicating and so, in fact is the other person hasn't. And if it has been, it might be to do with mental health, it might be to do with something else. But if you actually communicate, it can actually work where you can help someone understand. They might not understand it. If, for example, they don't know what autism is, you go with someone who doesn't know what autism is. You explain it to them, um, and they will get a bit of understanding. It's like anything. Like you might have like something else that uh, people don't know about, and like us being autistic, the partner who we're with might have something else as well that we don't know what it is, and it's all about learning. You learn with each other, and yeah, it's all about being honest. I think that is like if people go on about exes and stuff like that while you're in it, you kind of think which I learned as well. Like you kind of think you're in the mind, you don't want to say anything, but at the same time you think, we still going on about the same thing.
Yeah, I mean, definitely. I mean, I'm 24. I've had a lot of crushes, but I've only had like two relationships in my life. That, one I was younger, but I was still learning. And I had one relationship, when I was in college, college, but that didn't last really long. And it was mostly virtual, and
Hmm,
it ended in,
yeah,
emotional heartbreak.
yeah. It's not great, is it? Really,
Yeah.
um, Nick, because it's very hard, virtual as well. Because like it's all over text really, isn't it? And FaceTime maybe.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think just in today's life, it's hard. It's hard to find anyone because it's hard to read signals. It's really it's hard to do it all.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I think it's nice as well when you don't have anyone to like. It's almost like when you do have maybe um a partner or your lover or something like that. It's very stressful, isn't it? I think
Yeah.
it does really affect your mental health, and you're worrying about if you should message them or you should wait. I mean, then I think either way you'll get moaned at sometimes. But yeah, it's just very hard to find who is there. Um, but like the good thing about the world is there's so many people in it. And at some point, like you don't know when, but they just magically happen. Apparently, apparently, that that that's what happens, and I guess we just wait and um seek an opportunity and
Yeah,
fulfill it. But yeah, I think it's good to talk about that because it's always good to talk about that with being autistic as well, because you just don't want to feel judged. Um, do you really? That because you have autism doesn't mean you can't do things.
yeah. I mean, like, I just, I don't want to feel like, and that's the thing. It feels like when I try to, meet people, especially if I want to try to, rebuild a circle of friends, I don't want people to feel like I'm being a burden or being bothersome to them because of, if I try to, reach out. It's hard. It's hard and it's sad that, you know, whenever I try to reach out to people, I always mostly get, I get ignored a lot. But
Mm,
I try to, not let it bother me as much. But sometimes, especially during the pandemic, it really, kind of, it kind of really sometimes affected my mental health as well. And it made me feel like, did I say something to you? Or did I bother you in some way?
yeah,
So those are the lingering questions. And it made me feel like I was being so burdensome on them.
yeah,
So to the point where like, okay, maybe I could just leave you alone for a minute. But
mm,
I I just I just don't I just don't let it get to me even for the long run. I really don't. I just don't want but I don't want people to feel like I'm being a burden or bothersome to them.
yeah. It is like, but when you do message people and they don't answer you, it is hard for me to take sometimes. But normally what I do, if I do that, um, I will, depending on the situation, like, if it's a podcast or like, I, it depends. Like, when we have both our podcasts, I arrange one with someone and I ask if they want to come on, perhaps, and I won't get an answer. At that stage, unless they've messaged me at a later date, I won't say nothing more. I won't really get affected by it because it's their loss, but at the same time, you just don't know what's happening in someone else's life, so you can't really comment on that. Um,
Yeah, definitely.
but if we're midway through arranging it, and like say I join on the day we've arranged it, and um, they don't come, like 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 I at least wait probably half an hour, um, and if not, that's probably my time limit. to say, if you still want to take part, we'll rearrange for another day. I think, but at the same time, if things happen that you just don't know, it's all unpredictable. But yeah, it is sad. Like sad in a way that is like it makes you feel bad that maybe you've done something wrong if it's like a friend, because if they're not answering you, you probably feel like you might message your friend, let's say Bob, like let's say you message your friend Bob and you said, "Hey, how you doing, Bob, today?" And Bob hasn't answered you. Um, then so let's say in that situation you did do that. Well, it's just pretending Bob is a real life person. In this case, Bob isn't. This is just a scenario. So say Bob says, "Hey, no, I'm not Bob." Let's say you or me have messaged Bob to say, "Hey, how you doing?" And how long, if they haven't answered for maybe a day, like what would you do? Like, would you message them straight away, or would you leave it a week to message them, or would you leave them alone, or how would you?
Um, I would message Bob or the individual,
Hmm,
and if I would wait a minute, and if if they don't respond, I would give them a week, you know, see if they'll respond, see if they're okay, or if or until they respond back. If they don't respond back, maybe they're busy with something, or maybe they don't want to be bothered.
hmm.
If that is the case, I'll respect that. But overall, I just want to let you know. We just wanted to know if you're still alive.
Yeah.
Like, yeah,
Yeah, I completely agreed. If it is that
yeah,
drastic of a situation, but
yeah.
in this case, Bob's fine. He's okay.
It's good to know.
Yeah, but
Right.
I think within certain situations, with the power of text, you can't read anything. It's almost like you don't see the person, you just see words. You might see their profile, but the profile just is still, isn't it? Like doesn't move or doesn't talk to you. Um, but what I think is that like if it's the same, if it happens a lot, maybe it's hard to wonder if something's going on, but yeah, maybe especially in the time of pandemic, especially during the lockdowns, it would affect you more. Maybe to maybe not in a lockdown because you're not doing much or you can't do much because it's very limited.
Yeah, I mean, like you're only limited to one area of where you are, or a few hotspot areas of where you are. Because at the height of the pandemic, we were all sequestered at home and we all couldn't do anything. So basically, we just had to try to entertain ourselves the best way we know how, by streaming apps, try to communicate with people on Zoom and FaceTime, and also try to build our own, try to entertain ourselves by building our own hobbies like podcasting and drawing or cooking, or yeah.
Yeah, definitely. I couldn't agree more. Like I'm for one that myself, I'm compromised. So I'm kind of used to the lockdown and anyway. So I'm quite suited to it. So it was actually the best time for me to actually go out because no one was there. So it was a bit more easier then. But the only difference was a bit scary, a bit more scary than usual, wasn't it? Hearing everything on the news, which I did have to turn off. I couldn't listen to the death count each day, like especially like with mental health, it does affect you with that. So um, it was just a bit stressful. Um, but yeah, I think it's one of those times during the lockdowns where you get the time to do other stuff, like maybe create a podcast for one.
Yeah.
um, which we both did. Um, But yeah, so that was your first series, kind of on love. So like, how many series have you done in total on your podcast, Nick?
Um, I've done I gotta check my episode count, but I believe I did over around 24, 25 episodes overall in the last few years because I've been a lot super busy with school and whatnot. I haven't had the time to, you know, do episodes, but let me see. Let me see. I have one, two, 39 episodes actually.
I don't know.
Yeah.
More than you expected.
Yeah, and I've got almost 4,000 plays and 30 plays per episode.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I've got about the same.
Hmm.
Like I've done, I can't count how many episodes I've done, to be honest.
Hmm.
um, like it was gonna be a lockdown thing, and then it just because I keep going, I keep doing it, but I did different topics, and it is good fun, isn't it? Especially maybe during the lockdowns when we started. It's very good for your mental health to talk to someone else on the screen.
Yeah, definitely. Just, don't be afraid to talk about what's going on. Like, speak your mind. I mean,
Yeah.
definitely. I mean, some of my friends who I told them I made a podcast about my show, um, they said that they were really happy for me and they're so glad that I finally got a chance to speak my mind and who I am and took this opportunity.
That's great. It is really great, Nick. And to anyone listening, who might want to check it out, what is your podcast name? I know you've told me before we started, but just say yeah.
Neurodivergent Chat
No,
podcast.
okay, yeah, that very good work on your podcast, there, Nick.
Thank you.
I know we said before we started that, or we talked a little bit about it, but yeah, it is really good. Well, it's
Yeah.
good. It's good achievement because I always look forward to the end of the year when you can see all your stats come up and a lot of like with your Spotify thing where you see everything. So that's really cool. Uh,
Yeah.
um, but yeah, well, it's been great speaking to you, Nick, and it's been really awesome.
Thank you.
Yeah. And before we go, I'll just ask you one last thing. Is there anything, like any advice that maybe you want to give to other people, or just any last things that you'd like to say?
Yes. To everyone that's listening, to all our autistic and neurodivergent friends, don't don't be discouraged. Don't give up. If you have a dream and you have people told you that your dreams wouldn't and couldn't come true, don't listen to them. Follow your heart and follow your passion. If you're passionate about something, go for it. And for on the social wise, don't be discouraged if somebody doesn't feel you that way or don't want to like you or be with you. You find people that likes you for you and wants to be there for you. And to all the neurotypical people who are listening, I want to say give neurodivergent people and autistic people a chance. At least let at least show them a hand of friendship, gratitude, kindness, and trust me, you'll learn a lot about autistic people really if you get to really know us. You'll be in for a really beautiful experience.
Definitely, I couldn't agree more, Nick. with your
Thank you.
advice. Yeah, I definitely agree. And is it right by saying that you are the vice president of your university?
Yeah, political science club.
Yeah, a science club where
Yeah,
you're going to be doing some things and trying to get autistic people involved in it, and I think that's great.
yeah. Thank you. Thank
Yeah,
you.
thank you. Well, I hope to anyone who's seen this episode today, we hope you've enjoyed it and enjoyed what we've been talking about and Nick's journey. So thanks to everyone who's tuned in today, and again, thank you to Nick because it's been awesome speaking to you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Mason. I'm really glad to come on your show.